The apartment was quiet, too quiet. After a long hospital shift, the woman stepped inside her home and slowly closed the door behind her. Her body felt heavy, like every step took effort. Her shoulders ached from hours of standing. Her head throbbed from the noise of machines, alarms, and voices she had heard all day. She did not turn on the lights right away. The hallway light from outside spilled into the room, soft and yellow. She kicked off her shoes and leaned against the wall for a moment, closing her eyes. All she wanted was food. Something cold. Something quick. The hospital had been short-staffed again. Too many patients. Too little sleep. Too many moments that stayed in her mind longer than they should. She had helped people breathe, cry, and say goodbye. Now she was empty. She walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. The light inside flicked on, bright and sharp in the dark room. Cold air rushed out. Bottles, containers, and a half-finished meal sat quietly on the shelves. She stared at them without really seeing anything. That was when she heard it. Sound. Soft, slow. It did not come from the fridge. Her body stiffened. At first, she told herself it was nothing. Maybe the building pipes. Maybe a neighbor upstairs. Old buildings made strange noises all the time. She had heard worse at the hospital. She reached for a water bottle, then the sound came again. This time, it was closer, a low dragging noise, like something moving gently across the floor. Her hand froze. Mid-air. Her heart began to beat faster. She held her breath and listened. The fridge hummed. The clock on the wall ticked. Outside, a car passed. Everything felt normal, yet her skin prickled with unease. She slowly closed the fridge door. The kitchen fell back into darkness. And then, a faint sound came from behind her, not loud. Not fast. Just enough to make her stomach tighten. She turned around. Nothing was there. The kitchen was empty. The table, the chairs, the counter, all in their place. The door to the hallway stood open. Leading into the dark apartment, she let out a shaky breath and laughed quietly to herself. "You're tired," she whispered. "That's all. Long shifts did this to people." The mind played tricks when the body was pushed too far. She had seen it happen to others. Now it was her turn. She grabbed the water bottle and leaned against the counter. Taking a slow drink, that was when she heard it again. This time, it was clearer, a soft click. Like a nail tapping. Would. Her chest tightened. She stopped drinking and lowered the bottle. The sound came from the hallway. Her eyes stayed locked on the darkness beyond the kitchen light. The hallway looked longer than usual. Shadows stretched along the walls. The door to her bedroom stood slightly open, just the way she had left it that morning. She listened carefully. Another sound followed. Slow breath, not hers. Her mouth went dry. She stood perfectly still, afraid that even the smallest movement would make the sound return. Her mind raced through possibilities. A neighbor? An animal? The building manager? None of them made sense. She had locked the door. She always locked the door. Her phone buzzed softly in her pocket, breaking the silence. She nearly dropped the bottle. With shaking hands, she pulled the phone out. A missed message from the hospital. They were asking if she could come in early tomorrow. She stared at the screen, trying to steady herself. Then, behind her, the fridge door creaked. Slowly. She turned her head just in time to see it move. Not wide. Not fast. Just enough to let the cold light spill into the kitchen. Again. Her breath caught in her throat. She had closed it. She was sure she had. The sound returned, louder now. A faint shuffle. A weight shifting. Her heart pounded so hard. She could hear it in her ears. She stood between the open fridge and the dark hallway, unsure which direction held the real danger, and that was when she realized something that made her blood run. Cold. She was no longer alone in her apartment. She did not move. The fridge light shone across the kitchen floor, cutting into the darkness like a thin blade. Her shadow stretched behind her, long and uneven. The cold air brushed against her arms, but she barely felt it. Her eyes stayed fixed on the open fridge door. Her mind kept saying one thing over and over. This can't be real. She took one slow step back. The floor did not creak. The sound felt too loud in her ears anyway. Her breathing was shallow now, careful. As if noise itself could make things worse. The fridge door stopped moving. Silence returned. She waited. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Nothing happened. Her body began to shake, not from fear alone, but from exhaustion. The hospital shift had drained everything from her. Fear just made it spill over. She reached forward and pushed the fridge door closed again. This time she pressed her palm against it for a few seconds, making sure it stayed shut. "It's stress," she whispered. "Just stress." She turned toward the hallway. The darkness there seemed thicker now. The light from the kitchen barely touched the far end. She thought about going back outside. She could sit in her car, lock the doors, and breathe. But she was tired of running from work, from long days. From everything, she took another step forward. The hallway floor felt colder than the kitchen tile. Her bare feet moved slowly, one careful step at a time. She reached for the wall switch. Before her fingers touched it, sound came from the living room. Not a drag this time. A soft thump, like something being set down. Her hand froze in the air. Her heart dropped into her stomach. The living room was dark. The curtains were closed. The couch sat where it always had. Nothing looked out of place, but she could feel it, that sense that someone was there. Watching. She turned on the hallway light. The sudden brightness made her wince. The apartment looked normal. Too normal. The kind of normal that felt wrong after fear had already entered the room. She scanned the floor. Her bag lay by the door. Her jacket hung where she left it. No signs of anyone else. She laughed again. But this time the sound broke halfway through. "Get it together," she said softly. She walked into the living room and flicked on the lamp. Warm light filled the space. The shadows pulled back, hiding in corners. Nothing. She let out a long breath and sank onto the couch. Her hands trembled as she rubbed her face. She was imagining things. Long shifts did this. Lack of sleep did this. The mind filled empty spaces with fear. That was when she noticed the smell. It was faint, cold. Air, metal, something old, hospital smells. Her stomach tightened. She stood up slowly and looked around. Again, the smell was strongest near the hallway, near her bedroom. She stared at the slightly open door. She was sure she had closed it before leaving that morning. She always did. It helped her feel calm when she came home. She walked toward it, each step heavier than the last. The smell grew stronger. Her hand hovered over the door. She hesitated. Then she pushed. It opened. The bedroom light was off. Moonlight filtered through the window, laying pale shapes across the floor. Nothing looked disturbed. The bed was made. The chair sat in the corner. Her bag rested near the dresser. She stepped inside and turned on the light. That was when she saw it. Her bedside drawer was open, just a few inches. Her breath stopped. She walked closer, inside the drawer. Her things were not the way she left them. The small items were shifted. Her old watch sat on top instead of beneath. She knew this because she always placed it the same way. Her hands curled into fist. She backed away from the bed. A cold understanding settled in her chest. This was not stress. This was not exhaustion. Someone had been here, and as she stood there, frozen in the middle of her room, a soft sound came from behind her. The quiet click of the apartment door unlocking. The click echoed through the apartment. It was quiet, but clear. She felt it more than she heard it. Her body went stiff. Every muscle tightened at once. For a brief moment, she could not breathe. The door had unlocked. That was not a sound the building made on its own. Her mind raced. She was trapped between the bedroom and the hallway. The living room lay beyond that. The front door was out of sight. She stepped back slowly. Her eyes locked on the doorway. Nothing moved. She listened. Footsteps did not follow. No voices, no rush of air. Just silence. Her heart pounded so hard it felt painful. She reached into her pocket for her phone. Her fingers shook so badly that she nearly dropped it. The screen lit up her face, making the dark room feel smaller. No signal. The building had weak coverage. She knew that. She hated it. Now it felt dangerous. She backed toward the window. It was locked like always. She tested it anyway. Still locked. Her breath came faster. She tried to think clearly. The hospital had trained her for calm under pressure. She had stayed steady during emergencies. She had helped others breathe when panic took over. Now she forced herself to do the same. Inhale. Exhale. She listened again. A soft sound came from the hallway, a shift of weight. Someone was there. She lowered the phone and scanned the room. Her eyes landed on the bedside lamp. It was heavy, solid. She picked it up. The weight felt strange in her hand, but comforting too. It was something. It was control. She stepped closer to the bedroom door. Her footsteps were slow, careful. The hallway light was still on. She could see the edge of the wall. The living room lay beyond it. Hidden but close, she leaned forward, just enough to look. The hallway was empty. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She moved forward. Another step, still nothing. Her mind screamed at her to run, but her legs did not move. Fear had rooted her in place. Then she heard breathing, not loud, not fast. Slow and steady. Coming from the living room. Her grip tightened on the lamp. She took one more step forward. The living room lamp was still on. The couch stood where it always had. The curtains did not move, but something was different. The front door was open. Just a crack. Cold air slipped inside. Brushing her skin, she had locked that door. She was sure of it. The breathing stopped. Silence pressed down on her like weight. She stood in the hallway, heart racing, mind screaming for sense where none existed. Who's there? She called out. Her voice sounded smaller than she wanted. No answer came. She edged closer to the living room. Her eyes moved from corner to corner, scanning shadows, searching for movement. The smell returned. Stronger now, cold, sharp, familiar. It smelled like a hospital hallway late at night. Her stomach turned. She stepped fully into the living room. The door creaked slightly as it shifted. She swung the lamp toward the sound. Nothing. Her breath came out in a sob she did not realize she had been holding. She rushed to the door and slammed it shut. Her hands fumbled with the lock. She turned it twice, then leaned against the door, chest heaving. Her knees felt weak. She slid down until she was sitting on the floor, back against the door. For a moment, everything was still. Then a soft knock came from the other side. Not loud, not angry. Polite. Her eyes widened. She held her breath. Another knock followed. Slow, careful. As if whoever was outside knew exactly where she was sitting. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message finally came through. From the hospital. Did you leave already? Something was left behind. Her blood ran cold. She stared at the door. The lock. The shadow beneath it. And then she realized the most terrifying thing of all. The knocking was not coming from outside. It was coming from inside the apartment. She froze where she sat. Her back pressed against the door. The floor felt cold beneath her. The knocking stopped, but the silence felt even louder than the sound before it. She slowly turned her head and looked around the living room. Nothing moved. The lamp still glowed softly. The couch looked empty. The hallway stood quiet. Her heart raced as she tried to understand what she had just heard inside the apartment. That thought alone made her chest tighten. She stood up slowly, keeping her back against the door. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stay steady. She raised the lamp again, gripping it with both hands now. Stop, she whispered. More to herself than anyone else, she needed to think. Fear had a way of changing reality. She had seen it many times at the hospital. People heard things that were not there. They imagined danger because their bodies were exhausted. She took one careful step forward. Then another. The floor did not creak. The apartment stayed silent. She turned toward the hallway and listened closely. A faint sound reached her ears. Not knocking. Not footsteps. Breathing. Slow. Even. It was coming from the kitchen. Her stomach dropped. The fridge. She remembered the way the door had opened on its own. The cold air. The first sound that started everything. She moved toward the kitchen, each step heavy with fear. The closer she got, the stronger the smell became. Cold metal. Clean air. Hospital rooms late at night. She stopped at the kitchen. Doorway, the fridge was open again, wide this time, the light inside shone bright, filling the room. The shelves were still full, but something felt wrong. One of the containers was missing. Her heart pounded as she scanned the counter. The container sat there. Open inside was a meal she had brought home from work. Something she had saved for later because she was too tired to eat. She had not touched it. She was sure the breathing came again. Very close now. Her eyes followed the sound. She looked down and saw footprints, bare footprints, on the kitchen floor. Leading from the hallway leading to the fridge. Her breath caught in her throat. She backed away slowly. The lamp raised high. Her hands shook so badly that she feared she would drop it. "Please," she whispered. "Whoever you are, just leave." The breathing stopped for a moment. She thought she was alone again. Then a voice spoke, low, quiet, almost calm. "You brought it home." Her blood ran cold. The voice did not sound angry. It did not sound threatening. It sounded tired. Like hers. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. No answer came right away. The fridge light flickered. The voice spoke again. "You didn't close the door at work?" Her mind raced. The hospital. The long shift. The patient who had kept asking for water. The one who kept staring at the wall. The one who had gone silent just before the end. Her chest tightened. "That's not possible," she whispered. The footprints moved. Slowly. One step closer. She raised the lamp higher. "Ready to swing." The voice sighed. "I followed the cold." Her hands went numb. This was not someone who had broken in. This was something else. Something that had attached itself to her exhaustion, to her open mind, to the moment she let her guard down. Her phone buzzed. Again. Another message from the hospital. "We can't find the patient's belongings. Did you take anything by mistake?" Her eyes filled with tears. She shook her head. "No," she said aloud. "I didn't." The breathing grew heavier. "The voice said softly. "The fridge light went out. The kitchen fell into darkness." She screamed. She swung the lamp forward with all her strength. The lamp hit nothing. The light snapped back on. The kitchen was empty. No footprints. No open container. The fridge door stood closed. She stood there, shaking, tears streaming down her face. Her phone rang. She answered it without looking. Her voice broke as she spoke. "I need help." On the other end, a calm voice replied. "Stay where you are," the voice said. "We're on our way." She sank to the floor, sobbing. As she sat there, staring at the fridge, one final thought settled into her mind. Whatever had followed her home was not finished yet. She stayed on the kitchen floor, her back against the cabinet, phone pressed to her ear. Her breathing was uneven, sharp at first, then slowly calming as she followed the voice on the other end. "Help is coming," the voice said again. "Just stay where you are." She nodded even though the person could not see her. Her hands were cold. Her legs felt weak, as if they no longer belonged to her. The apartment was silent. No breathing. No footsteps. No flickering lights, only the low hum of the fridge. Minutes passed. Each one felt longer than the last. Her eyes never left the fridge door. She expected it to open again at any moment, but it did not. A knock came at the door. This time it was firm, real, steady. "Hello?" A voice called from outside. "It's us." Relief washed over her so suddenly that she almost cried again. She stood up slowly, her legs shaking, and walked to the door. She unlocked it with careful hands. 2 people stood outside. Calm faces. Gentle voices. The kind of presence that made the air feel lighter. She stepped aside and let them in. They asked her to sit. They spoke slowly. They listened without interrupting as she told them everything: the sounds, the fridge, the footprints, the voice. She expected disbelief. Instead, one of them nodded. Double quotes work like yours stays with people, they said quietly. Sometimes it follows them home in ways they don't understand. They walked through the apartment with her. They checked every room. Every corner, nothing was out of place. The fridge stayed closed, the bedroom drawer was just as she had left it earlier that morning. The smell was gone. She felt foolish standing there, wrapped in a blanket they had given her, trying to explain something that no longer existed, but inside her chest. The fear had not faded. Before they left, one of them stopped near the door. "Did anything unusual happen at work today?" They asked. She hesitated, then she nodded. "There was a patient," she said softly. "They were alone. No family. They kept asking if someone would stay." Her voice trembled. "I said I would come back. But I didn't. I was tired." The person listening did not judge. They simply nodded again. "Sometimes the mind carries unfinished moments," they said. "Especially when we don't give ourselves time to rest." After they left, the apartment felt different, quieter, safer, but empty. She locked the door and leaned against it, closing her eyes. For the first time that night, she allowed herself to sit with her feelings instead of running from them. She did not turn on the TV. She did not check her phone. She sat in silence. And slowly, the fear loosened its grip. She cleaned the kitchen, carefully, calmly. She closed the fridge, and stood there for a moment, her hand resting on the door. "I'm sorry," she whispered. She wasn't sure who she was saying it to. Then she went to bed. Sleep came in short pieces, broken, heavy. When morning light filled the room, she woke with a deep ache in her chest, but also clarity. She took the day off. She returned something she had taken by mistake from work. Something small. Something she hadn't noticed at the time. The hospital hallway felt different in daylight, brighter, lighter. She paused near the place where the patient had been. She stood there quietly for a moment. Then she turned and walked away. That night, she came home again. She opened the fridge. Nothing happened. No sounds. No shadows. Just cold air and quiet. Shelves? She smiled faintly. Fear had come from exhaustion. But peace came from facing it. And this time, she closed the fridge door slowly and walked away without looking back. Asterisk. The days that followed were slower. She moved through them with more care than before, like someone walking on a floor that had once cracked beneath their feet. She noticed small things now. The sound of birds in the morning, the way sunlight touched the kitchen wall, the steady rhythm of her own breathing. She returned to work after a short break. The hospital looked the same, but she felt different inside it. She walked the halls with softer steps. She listened more closely when people spoke. She stayed a few seconds longer at bedsides. Even when her shift was ending, she no longer rushed away from silence. There were moments when the memory returned. Late at night, when the apartment was still, when the fridge hummed in the dark, when she stood alone with her thoughts, but the fear no longer controlled her. She understood it now. Fear had not come to hurt her. It had come to warn her. She had carried too much for too long. Other people's pain, other people's final words. Moments she had not given herself time to release. The sound she heard that night was not something that followed her home. It was something she had brought with her one evening. After another long shift, she came home and cooked a simple meal. She ate slowly at the table instead of standing by the counter. She drank water. She rested her head in her hands and allowed herself to feel tired without feeling guilty. Later, she opened the fridge again. Just to check. The light came on. Cold air flowed out. Everything was still. She smiled, not because she was brave, but because she was learning how to care for herself. She closed the fridge and turned off the kitchen light. As she walked toward the hallway, she paused and looked around the apartment. It felt like home again. Weeks passed. The memory of that night softened, losing its sharp edges. It became a reminder instead of a wound, a reminder that exhaustion can make even safe places feel dangerous, a reminder that silence is not always empty, and a reminder that people who care for others must also learn to care for themselves. One night, she received a message from work. Another extra shift request. Another short-staffed call. She stared at the screen for a moment, then she typed a simple reply, "I can't tonight." She placed the phone down and felt something new settle inside her. That night she slept deeply. No sounds, no shadows, no fear. Just rest. In the morning, she woke before her alarm. Sunlight filled the room. She stretched and took a deep breath. Life would still be hard. The hospital would still be loud. Loss would still exist, but she would not carry it alone. Any more. She would pause. She would rest, and she would listen to the quiet not as a threat, but as a sign that she was safe. The fridge stayed closed. The apartment stayed still, and the terrifying sound that once filled the night was gone, replaced by something softer, the sound of healing.